Hey everyone, this is Peggy, and today on Coffee and Crafting, we're going to make this adorable farmhouse pinwheel bunny. I'm making a few to put in my shop. This is what it looks like from the front, and then it's got a cute little cottontail on the back. So if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, you can do that now. And you can tap that red bell and it'll notify you when I upload new content. And a full description of all the supplies you need to make this will be in the description of this video. So I'm going to tilt you down and we're going to take a look at some of those items that you're going to need. And again, let me take a quick sip of my coffee. Y'all, I'm on the last weeks of COVID, so please pardon my little bit of a shaky voice. It's been a little bit of a recovery, and I get out of breath easily, but I wanted to get this done because it's so cute. So one of the first things that you're going to need is some nautical rope. I picked this up from Dollar Tree. You're only going to need one. And a styrofoam disc, and what I chose to use was the ones from Dollar Tree. They come 2 in a pack, and they just work perfectly for this project. But if you need to use a wider disc, you can. And then you'll need some ribbons, and you can use any colors that you want. These are just the ones that I chose to use. You'll need a 2.5 inch, a 1.5 inch, and a 5/8 inch for this project. And of course, if you want to add other ribbons, you can, or use a different pattern. And this is just a leftover remnant of some ribbon that I had on hand. So another thing is, of course, you're going to need your scissors and your glue gun. You're also going to need a dowel. This just came in a pack of, I forget how many that came from, again, any of the craft stores. Even Dollar Tree, I believe, has them. And you're going to need some yarn, and whatever color you choose to use. I'm using this. It's more of an cream color or oatmeal color. And I happen to grab this one. It's really cute. It has a cute little weave to it, wave to it, but you can use any yarns that you want, and some embellishments to decorate it. And then I painted my dowel to kind of go with my project. So what I'm using here is some Waverly chalk paint from Walmart. Again, all of the items I've used, and maybe some affiliate links, will be listed down in the description in case you can't find those things. So the other last thing that I want to show you is that I picked this up from Walmart. It's a laminated burlap sheet. Sorry. You can also use this cork as well, and this came from Dollar Tree. So it's sort of in that farmhouse color range. And if you can't find the laminate sheets, I'll put a link down here, because you can also find them in other locations. But the laminated burlap sheets came from Walmart. So in a clay pot, or type of pot that you want to place your pinwheel in. So what I did was I took one of those sheets. That's the nice burlap part. And the reason why I'm using this sheet is because it has a lamination or a kind of film over it, and it keeps that burlap from fraying. Now, if you don't have that, you can certainly use actual burlap fabric. If you do that, the trick that I would say to do is to take your burlap fabric and cut it out to, where it will fit the round styrofoam. Pardon me, y'all. Again, I have remnants of COVID. Anyway, so once you do that, I would brush Mod Podge on it to stiffen it up and let it dry thoroughly, and then use it. That'll help with some of the fraying on burlap. So what I did was I just took my foam and I took a pen, and if you've got a chalk marker, you know, you can use chalk, whatever. I just drew that on there, and we're going to cut that out. Oh, you're going to need some jute too, just on hand in case. So the trick with this one is actually to not be in a hurry, and I'm just cutting right on that line, and I'm using regular scissors, and we're just going to cut that circle out. I cut right on the line because it will disappear. And again, the trick is not to get in a super hurry, and as far as cutting out your circles, that way it comes out more like a circle than an oval. And again, if you know, try not to overcut it. It's always easier to trim it off if it's not cut down into the line. And I'll show you what I mean in just a moment, as soon as we get this one cut. I like to get all my parts kind of prepared in advance before I get started. And again, we're just trimming this off, and we're going to put this to the side. All right, let's just check and see that measurement and see how well it goes. I'm going to flip it over. It looks pretty good, but you can let's see, yeah, that looks pretty good. So you can see how nice it looks. Now, since this is white, it really has that kind of lighter color, but you can actually take this paint here and paint over it if you wanted to, and it would just make a darker background. You're not peeling this laminate off. You're going to use that because it's permanently, you know, it's a permanent to this piece here. So don't try peeling it off or any of that. It's crazy. It'll fray. But this will keep it from fraying. So now we've got that cut out, we're actually going to do the rope part. So, and again, you only need one. I'm going to trim this off. One of these, and that's to make the ears as well. I'm going to take that off. Now, you could measure out if you wanted to. It's approximately 6 to 8 inches, and cut your 2 pieces for your ears, but I prefer to wait to the end so that it's all one continuous piece. And there is some tape on these here, which we just need to remove. Let's try it here. And again, this is just, it's called Nautical rope. It looks like jute, you know, it's jute to me. But we're going to remove that plastic totally off of there. Tape is actually what it is. Now, we're going to be using hot glue. So, if you are prone to burning your hands, I picked these up from Dollar Tree as well. We'll just take out some of these little fingers and keep them handy when we get ready to glue. I did burn my hand a little bit when I didn't use them, so we'll try using them. Okay, so for me, I'm just going to eyeball the center. I usually take a pen. This happens to be a little corsage pen. I'm just going to eyeball the center of my disc. That's about approximate, okay? And we're just unwind this just a little bit. We're going to start off in the center, and that's pretty much still sticky, so maybe we'll get away with that. And I'm going to take this here, just so you see it, and we're going to start with putting a little dab of glue right here. Oops. Well, it didn't turn on. Well, of course. Oh, no. Never fear. You gotta turn the button on to get it to work. I thought I had it going. I didn't. So we'll just do something here really quick while that heats up. What I'm going to do is go ahead and cut. So I have a bow under the chin of the of my farmhouse, and I just chose to use the same ribbon. So we're going to cut off. We're just going to go ahead and get our bow made while we wait for that to heat up. So this is not an exact science. So this is, I think I cut 2. So I cut 1. Let me see. Let me measure that. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to cut 1. We'll start off at 7 inches. And then we'll cut the second one. And you don't have to use the same ribbon. You can use, you know, a different one if you want. And I think the other one was, let's put it up here, measure it. I'm going to guess, yep. I got one that's about 6 inches and one that's about 7. You might want to go ahead and cut it at 8 just to get it going. I mean, that way you have room to trim it a little bit more. So we're just going, so we've got one at 7 and one at 6, I believe is what we had. And we're just going to dovetail the ends. Now when I dovetail mine, I always fold it over with the wire sides to the top, and then I go from the inside. It just gives it a nice crisp cut. That's just how I cut mine. Some people do it the opposite, but I like it that way. And we'll cut this one as well. It's real life, folks, when you, I mean, who hasn't forgotten to get their glue started? And again, we're just doing this in advance. So I'm going to have 2 pieces, just slightly, one slightly shorter than the other. And we're going to check that glue and see if it's ready yet. And again, we'll come back to do this. I do that after I do the rope because there's so much moving around. Let's see. Alright, let's see if we can get some glue going. This thing heats up fairly good. You don't have to glue into the pin. I just happen to do that. I'll probably take that out. Let's put my finger on it just in case. And I'm just going to sit this in here so that we have that. I'm going to take that pin out for now. And we can just set it there. It doesn't take that long to set it up, but and we're going to let that first one, because we're going to be pulling on that, we really want it to, and this glue dries very quickly. It's Sure Bonder glue. I usually use Gorilla Glue, but I just happen to have, since it's a mini glue gun, I just happen to have that. Okay, so I'm going to take that pin that I just took and I'm going to stick it back in there just to kind of hold on to that. So, okay, make sure that glue is not hot. So we're going to get our finger in there really, really good, okay? Just after you make sure that it's cooled down somewhat. And we're going to have to kind of pull it because we're going to make a circular motion, that pinwheel motion. And this is where your fingers, we're going to try the fingers, come in handy. Because even though it's still hot. So this is the part that takes the most time. And it's just a matter of nicely going around that circle and we can move this pin in just a little bit. But we're going to just put a little bit of glue. You don't want to put a ton because you don't want the glue to seep up above the rope. And again, we're just pressing flat and we're going in a circle. I'm not so worried about the center look, you know how it looks, just as tight as you can get it, because we're going to add an embellishment there for the nose. So again, I'm just putting the glue basically on the surface and we're moving around. I probably don't need the fingers right now. And you just have to hold it till it tacks. Let's take those fingers off for now. And you see how it's holding it? It doesn't take long. I really like this Surebonder for this project. I'm not an affiliate of Surebonder. I'm just saying how much I like it. And again, I just hold it for a second and then move on to the next one. And again, I'm putting it right up against this and just going around in a circle. And it's sticking really nice. Again, this is going to take the most amount of time. If you want to speed up, because all we're doing is going around and around. So if you want to speed up through this, you can certainly do that. But I thought we would just kind of show you from beginning to end. And I'm pushing it up quite closely to the other one, and I'm going to show you a close-up of that just as soon as this one sets, so you can kind of see right how we're looking. You see it's flat on that surface, and we're going right up against it. Again, I'm coming back through it, just putting a little bit of glue. I'm using the mini glue gun, which I like because it has a smaller head for the glue to come out, and it gives you a little more control for your smaller projects. And we'll keep going. And I'm taking my pin out, and we'll set it aside. We don't really need it. And again, let's go around. So if you haven't already subscribed to my, see, I almost got myself, to my channel. Sorry about that. You can subscribe now, and if you tap that red bell, it's going to notify you when I upload new content, new projects that I want to share with you. I do have a Facebook page, and I do some things over there, but for the majority of my crafting projects, I'm doing on YouTube. So the great thing is if it feels like it's still loose, you can just squirt it back up in there and come back around. And we're going to hold it. If you use too much glue, it will seep through. Again, if you're not used to using, doing these kinds of projects, I would suggest to use these. Somebody's calling me. Sorry, y'all. Hopefully it'll go away soon. I tried to leave that in the other room so it wouldn't disturb me. So let me know if you've tried this, or you know, certainly come back and let me know if you like these kinds of projects and would like to see more. You can let me know down in the comments, and then it tells me what y'all would like to see me do. Also, let me know where you are viewing from. I'd love to know where our little videos reach. I live in South Carolina. Sort of in the middle of the state, but I'm originally from the coast, from Folly Beach, South Carolina. I grew up on the beach. These are lovely childhood memories. And again, we're almost there. We're getting closer and closer. And it looks, you know, it's going to look off a little bit because that's just the nature of it. I'll just pull some more rope. I love making these natural looking crafts. That's just sort of the style that goes in my home. That you can use if you have some other type of rope. You can use that as well. Need to add a little bit of glue. Not yet, almost. I'm just going to add another glue stick there. I kind of go back where I kind of started from. Kind of down in there a little bit, just to make sure that I'm getting it. And again, I'm pressing it flat and against the other piece. As soon as we get this part finished, it should go a little bit more quickly for us. And you want to make sure that you're pressing it flat, not hard, just make sure that it's flat. Okay, now we can add our glue stick. Let's go back in there and add a little more glue. And I just push it toward there and make sure it's pressed down, and just make sure you don't want to add too much glue. If you're going to add, use your fingers, because if you add too much glue, when you press it down, it's going to come back up on you and burn your finger. I've come close, but let's keep our fingers crossed and make sure that we don't. And like I say, it's gonna be off a little bit. But that's not a big deal. You don't want to get too far ahead of yourself on the gluing before, because otherwise it won't stick to the rope. It'll be too dry. Yeah. Again, I know this is about as fun as watching paint dry. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm not that adept in editing videos yet, so this is the slowed version. And again, we'll just keep going around and around. And again, you see how it's kind of off, but that's okay. Don't worry about that right now. I'll show you why. We're not worried. It doesn't have to be perfect on there, but we'll show you why. Why that doesn't matter. The gap in here is closing, but we're continuing to go around. Pressing flatly. Don't worry, getting close to that edge, but we're all right. We still have a tiny little bit of edge there. Let me just show you up close. And again, see how it's more here and here? That's because we're going in that pinwheel direction. Oh, need to go back. And we're just going to go along the edge of that. And you can just press it up against it. It doesn't take long for this one to dry. When you get to that edge, you may want to hold it just a little bit longer. And again, okay. I promise, once we get through this part here, it won't be as long. It won't take as long. Ooh, some of that is... So this is the reason why I say don't cut your ears out yet on your project, because I'm going to add another glue stick here, because it may, oops, this doesn't want to go through now. Okay, there, got it. Because it may, let's see, I may have waited too long, we'll see. Because they may have shorted you, you know, on the length. I've had that happen. Doesn't matter what it says on the package. I've had it shorten me on this. So that's why I wait to cut my ears. And again, we're just going to come here. That looks good. Yep. And I think we're going to trim it. I might go around one more. Let's see. How's that going to look if I go around one more? No, one more. I'm just practicing. I'm just going to look and see if I want to go around the edge one more time. Just to get that white. I think we will. And how much will that leave me? I am measuring out how much rope that's going to leave me if I go around the outer edge. That's still going to give me plenty of room, plenty of rope to do my ears with. Which would be about here and that. Okay. So what I was trying to decide is that I might want to come back around here because there is a little bit of this showing. But we could actually put this at the bottom if we wanted to. Or we can go back around and just glue it to the rope itself. Let's make sure that this is tacked on really well. And again, I'm going through that plastic. I mean through the styrofoam. And I've put the glue, now that I've run out of styrofoam on the edge, I'm actually putting the glue on the nautical rope itself. And pressing it. It's giving me plenty. And I'm okay. I'm not concerned about the back of it being over the edge. As you can see on my example one, you see it kind of comes over the edge. So I think what we'll do is continue on, because I really want to cover up this from being seen, which means we have to go all the way around to this side here. So with that said, I'm going to use the glue actually on the lower end of this nautical rope. And to keep it from squishing up, I just kind of pull it back again and lightly tap it. This is where you're going to have to hold it just a little longer, just to get that tack where it's kind of tacky, you know how. And I think we're going to go around, and again I'm just going around that edge of that rope. And I'm trying to keep the glue from seeping up through. Yep. And we'll continually to go around. I want y'all to see this up close so you can see what I'm talking about. Do you see the glue? just gluing it to the edge. Now we're coming right. See how we've got a little bit of that white showing right here? A little bit of that white edge. Now we can cover that up. Now I'm actually touching the white edge again. Okay, and we're almost to the end. Thank goodness, right? Again, if you've already sped this up, then you're on to the next step. Okay, so now I'm just going to trim this off with my scissors. And let's just take this. I'm going to take some of the glue and we're going to get that end piece right there. And I'm just going to press this up here against this. There. Oh, got a little bit of glitter up in there. Okay. So here we have our pinwheel. And here's the back. Now it did go over the edge a little bit. That's fine. No problem. And then we've got our piece that we're going to make our bunny ears. So before we do that, we're going to add that burlap to the back. And now the way that I add it is that I position it on there. I kind of go around making sure it's kind of even around as best as I can. I'm going to take that pin I had again, that pin, and the only reason why I'm doing this is to keep it from moving around on me as I glue it. And I'm just going to stick it down in the center of that disc. See how? That's going to keep this from shifting around too much. Now this is just happens to be just a little wooden skewer. Keep it handy. So now I'm going to lift this disc up and I'm going to go to the center. Sorry. To the toward the center where that pin is. And I'm just going to just start adding some glue. And I'm not going to come all the way to the edge, but maybe about 3/4. I'm just going to add some glue. Not all the way to the edge. And then I'm going to take that wood skewer and I'm just going to tap it down. Not hard, just tap, because you don't want that glue to squeeze out the sides. And I'm just barely tapping it down. And again, I'm just tapping it. And actually, it's just warm to touch it for me. But if you are nervous about burning yourself, please do. It's still a little warm. I'm going to leave that pin in there until we're done. I'm going to lift it up where it's not already tacked down. And we may have to tack that down. And you can do a little bit as much as you want. Just gently tap that. Just to flatten it to make it smooth. Let me get this little, there we go. And we just move around that disc wherever it's not glued. See where I'm doing it? And I'm just coming out to about right there. And I'm just squeezing glue out to it. Not all the way to the edge. I'm going to tap it down. You can use this here just to roll it out. And I am am tapping it on the edge, but I'm just barely tapping it. Okay, we're just going to take a look at that. Make sure that that edge is on there. I'm going to take my little pen holder out. And you can see what it looks like. Now, on mine, I'm making where I ended it. That's going to be my little bottom there. Okay? So, that's where my dowel is going to go in. Now, sometimes the dowels will go in super easily, and sometimes we have to kind of help it along. This one's not going to do it, and we haven't painted our dowel yet either, but I'm just trying to get a hole. So what I do, if you have an awl, A-U-L-L, you can use that to start your hole, or if you have a screwdriver, I'm just going to use this X-Acto knife. I'm going to cut a little cross section in it so I can get it to see if it won't squeeze through. I didn't bring my screwdriver in, but that's alright. But I'm just trying to get a loose little section there. Just so. Ooh. Need to tighten that up a little bit. Let's see. Let's try it. I'm just trying to get it where it'll go in. And y'all have arthritis, so it may not work for me. I may have to go get my screwdriver. Let's try this. There we go. If you don't have a screwdriver, just use your pin top. Be careful, because you could actually just need to make that hole a little bit bigger. Oh yeah, so then we can just push it up. See how we're working on that? Just pushing it up in there. And right now, we will glue it. I'm just trying to get it where I've got it in there tight enough. Okay, so I've got it in there tight enough. Now you can leave it unpainted if you want to, or you can paint it. You can paint it green, whatever color that you want to. Let me see how that looks. I kind of like it painted, but then I like it unpainted too. Huh. I'm just comparing it to my original. I think it'd actually be okay to do it without it painted. But since I did paint mine, let's go ahead and do it. And chalk paint doesn't take that long to dry. So we're just going to just quickly do that. It's not very long, and I should do it like the photo. Right? Okay. Let's see if I can grab my little brush. Let's try this one. And this is a chalk paint, which dries super quick. And it has sort of, to me, it's a burlap color. It's called Hazel. I use that a lot with the burlap projects that I'm working on. And y'all, so sorry my voice is tired. I'm on day, I think, 6 or 7 from COVID. I am very fortunate that I actually had a mild case. But with that said, it did take me down the first few days. And I do have, am tired, and it has affected my voice. Just I think mainly from the what would you call it, the congestion. And let's see. We don't really have to paint it all the way to the top because we're going to insert that in. So let's try to get as close to the top as we can. Such a pretty color. I know it's brown, but it's that burlap color. And again, it doesn't take long for chalk paint to dry at all. I think that's good enough. Oop, I see a little area right there. Feels like it got a little light. And we're just going to set that aside while that dries. And again, it won't take that long to dry. I'm going to set that over there. Now I'm going to take a sip of my coffee. It's probably cold by now. It's not too cold. Okay, so we already know where our hole is. That's going to go for our dowel. And while that's drying, we're going to add this thinner ribbon. Okay, this 5/8. Now this happens just to be a 5/8 that I'm using. It is wired, but it doesn't have to be wired. As long as it's a thinner ribbon, and you can use trim, any type of trim. It just has to be approximately 5/8. Okay? Because that's about what the size of this is. It fits fairly good there, but you can be the judge. So I'm going to go up as close to that hole as I can, and I'm just going to glue it on. We'll make the ears last. And a little bit of glue coming there. Okay, so I'm just going to put a tiny bit of glue, not a lot, right next to that hole. And then I'm going to lay my ribbon right there. You see? Now I'm pushing it closer to the edge where the burlap is than I am anything else. Now I'm just going to put my finger there. Careful, don't burn yourself. And I may move my glue gun over on this side of me just to make sure it's easier. So I'm putting a little thin layer of glue here and a little thin layer of glue here. Not close to the edge, but sort of in the center. And then I'm going to just push that, and you know, it's not too hot for me, but again, use your fingertips when you're working with hot glue, okay? I'm going to pull that back a tad. And it's almost like you're going in the center of the ribbon with two thin layers of glue. And I'm just making sure that I'm nicely matching this edge here so that the white doesn't show. You have a little bit of wiggle room before it sets on you. And we're just going to peel it back and do the same thing. There we go. Now, if you really want to, if you really feel like you know, you can see a tiny bit of white, but not a lot. So if you really want to, you can take that paint here and paint the sides so that you don't see any of it, but it's so unnoticeable to me. And again, it is a little bit hot, so just be careful. I'm just used to it, I guess. I'm using my hands, but it can get hot. And I only suggest using the glue gun because it really, there, we're going to pull it up some. There we go. Because it's easier to control how much and where that glue goes. If you use too big of a glue gun, it's hard. And I'm just smoothing it down. It's warm to touch, so use your tips if you're concerned about getting burned for sure. And you can see this is a fairly thin ribbon, so you're getting close to the end. You have a little bit of wiggle room, a little bit. There we go. Okay. Now what I do when I get to the end is I'm just going to fold this ribbon over. And then I can see, the good thing about using wired is I can see where I need to trim it. To end it. And I'm not so concerned about, I'll show you. Oop. I'm not so concerned about, there we go. I'm going to set this aside. I'm not so concerned about this part because we're going to put a bow underneath there, so it's going to hide it. Alright, so this feels dry to me. Now if you want to sand it, you can certainly sand and wax it. But for today, I think we're just going to go ahead and insert it in. So then we have the body. So I'm just going to add some glue in here into that hole. And then we're going to insert this. And I'm going to let it sit. So make sure that's straight while we get everything else set up. Okay. I'm going to have a little sip of that coffee. It is cold, but it's still good. Does anybody drink cold coffee? I love hot coffee, but I will drink it cold as well. That's probably weird. Okay, so now we have the body. Okay, you see this? And we have that ready. So now the next thing we're going to do, I'm going to set this aside. Actually, we're going to put that over here. I'll have to clean that. Now we're going to set this aside and do the ears really. So for the ears, I'm going to do, put this up, the 5.5 inch ribbon. So the only thing we're using the 1.5 inch ribbon for is for the bow that goes under the what I call the chin of the bunny. So what we're going to do to make the ears is we're going to cut off 2 pieces And how I measure it is that I'm going to make about the size of the bunny ear. Let me test this on there. Yeah. And I'll tell you how much we need. About that much. Okay. And how much is this going to be? So we just have to do a little bit shorter. So these are going to be, I'm just making sure I have an even amount so that my bunny ears are going to be equal. Okay. So it should be, yep. Okay, at least no shorter than 8 inches. But these are almost 9 inches, these two pieces that we have left. Okay. So this is the way I did mine. Was that I went ahead and it's going to be very flimsy while you're at it, while you're doing that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of glue, a little bit of hot glue, right here, right here. Just a little bit of glue to tack it. To tack it together. Make sure it's flat, just to keep it tacked. And see, we have our bunny shape ear. That's just to kind of hold it together. Now it may come loose on us, but that's okay. We can glue it again. It's staying pretty good. See how it's staying? If it comes loose. So I'm just going to take my 2.5 inch, and I have the pretty side facing down. And I'll tell you why. We're going to trim off some. And we're going to do another one. Doesn't take much ribbon to do this. And actually, I'm going to try to match up my pattern as best as I can. So we'll just trim off a piece and then we'll try to match it. And when I say match, it's just the inner ear. Okay. Alright, so let's put this aside. That's all we need that for. I'm sorry this is taking so long, guys. If you want to speed it up, please do. But this is a fun project and easy to do. So I'm just going to take my pen, and this fits perfectly inside. I'm not worried about keeping the wired edge of the ribbon, and I want it the pretty side facing down, because I don't want this I don't want it to the marking from the pen, and I'm just going down the outer edge of this. I don't want it on the pretty side of my ribbon. And generally it does take up to the edge. Okay, I want you to see how I did this. Okay, can you all see that? Let me know. I hope you can see it. You see it? So what I did was I actually made instead of coming to a point, I made it a tab. See if you can see it. It's like a tab part, you see? I'll tell you why I did that when we go to put it together. So let's do the first one. We're going to cut this out. And again, you can always trim it. I try cutting right on the line that I made. But you can always trim it. And if you don't get it right the first time, then you can just try trimming it again. Get another piece. It doesn't take that much ribbon. It doesn't have to be perfect, because you can trim as you go. and we'll show you. So you see, how it's sort of like a tab. Now, I always flip it over and just to see how it looks first before, see if I need to do any trimming. I just test it out. You can always trim a little afterwards. So now you see how it looks. And I always go from the top down, so I want you to see how that looks in my hand. Okay, you're seeing that? See how we have that little tab? Okay, keep it there. So, I always line it up. I'll hold the rope, and then I'll just lift it up a tad bit. And we're just going to put glue. I'm going to have to do this sideways so I can see it a little better. I just lift it up just a tad, and I'm going to put glue only where the rope meets. Just a little dab of it. Did I get it? Nope. I don't know why my glue gun won't. There we go. Just keep it over here. Okay, I'm just going to tack it down. Doesn't need to press it hard. And if you do get some glue seep on the side just like that, you can come back and quickly pull it up like that using this. That'll help pull it up off of the ear. And it'll come off of there. Okay. I squeezed a little bit too much. So now I'm just going to go underneath here. And I'm putting a thin, thin coat. And I'm just going to tack it down. Again, if it's too much outside the edge, we can trim it off. It doesn't take long. Sometimes you need 3 hands, don't you? There we go. I'm just trying to lift this up. This is the little bit, takes a little bit more time. Let's just do it this way. Alright, we're not going all the way past that little tab. I don't want to stick my finger down in there. And what we're doing is just tacking it to the ribbon. And we're putting a thin little layer. There we go. Thin little layer. And we're almost to the top again. Again, if you get a little bit too much glue where it seeps out on the side, you can use that little trick. And see, it pulls right off there. It'll pull right off your little thing. Okay. So I do have, let's look at that. So you still have some showing there. That's when you can come back with your scissors. Sorry, y'all. And you could just come along the edge and just trim it. Just trim it off. And we may wait. Let's see. Trim it this way. Just a tad. Yeah. Just gonna trim just a tad. All right, y'all. Okay, that's our first ear. Okay. So now I'm going to do the second ear. Okay. And this has a pattern like this, so just keep in mind when you're doing that you have your you use it straight up and down, and how it's going to look. So I'm just going to make sure that my ear is pretty much the same. I forgot I have to take off the tape off of this one, this end, and this worked out perfect. The other one I had a little bit of leftover. So again, it's going to be super flimsy. Just want to make sure our ears are about, pretty much the same. Okay, so again, I'm going to put a little dab of glue right here, right in between here. Not much. A little bit on one side, a little bit on the other side. And I'm going to use my little helpful fingers. Just so it tacks together. Doesn't take long. Okay. So I'm going to try to match up that pattern. I just want to kind of see how that's going to go. Just flip it over this way. Yeah. Okay. I can do it that way now. Might have to flip it this way. There. That's much better. Aha. Okay. I don't want to be crooked. Okay. I'm just trying to get a feel for the location of where I had that one. Alright. We're going to use that pen, and again, we're just going to outline it. Now, it'll give, so don't press on it too. See, it just stuck to my finger. I'm going to make a tab. We'll get this other one going. I'm going to trim some of that off. We're almost to the finish line. Almost. Again, we're just trimming on that line. It's almost the perfect all the way to the edge. And if you mess up, just use another piece of your ribbon. Alright, let's take a look and see how it looks. Let's compare them. They look pretty close to me. Close enough. This one may be a little bit skinnier, but we can adjust that as we're there. Alright, I think I'm going to tack it from the bottom first. This one we tacked from the top. Let's tack it from the bottom. But we want to make sure that we're covered. So I'm just going to put a little bit of bead of glue, just a little bit. Picked up my pen instead of this. That's just to kind of keep it in place. And again, we're going to go around this edge. Oop, put off the edge a little bit. There. It might stick to your mat, but it should be alright. I'm just using a thin, thin. Doesn't take much glue to tack it down. And just keep looking at your other ear and make sure that you're, you know, getting the same shape. Don't forget to shape it at the top. They're not going to be perfect, but they can be pretty close. Oop, I should have did what I did before, which is don't do what I did. Use the top one like I said before. It's gonna work, but it's just gonna be a little bit tight. There we go. Okay. We're almost to the end of this part. Okay. Ooh. There we go. Alright. Alright, so we have our other ear. So we have our two ears with our tabs. Okay. Now what we're going to do here is we're just going to put glue on the end of this and a little bit on the tab. Okay, we're going to take that stick and we're going to push it up. So it looks something like that. You see how we have a little bit of this poking out. And the reason why is because that's what we're going to use to put our glue on, to glue it on. And we just need to trim it just a tad bit. Yeah, just so that it fits. Okay, so I've trimmed it a little bit. So now you can see the bottom. Put a little bit of glue here. And I don't want to touch that hot glue. So I'm going to hold it here until it gets tacky. Trim it. Oh, got some glue on there. Put that to the side. See? Okay, for me personally, I like to go ahead and put the ears on. So I'm just going to kind of like see how I want my ears to land on my bunny. Always finding the center. And you know, some people like their bunny ears a little closer together. Some of them like them wider apart. So it just is a personal preference. But you do want to center them. And you're going to have to do them at a little bit of an angle. I like it right there. So I'm just going to put my finger right where I want that glue dot to go. I got my finger right where I want that glue to go. And we're going to take that ear and we're going to press it to as close as this, as the jute. Sorry. Now this is where you're going to have to hold it. Because you don't want it to fall off. I'm going to stand up just so I can see over it. Making sure that I'm still at an angle. That might take it. Okay, and again, there we go. Okay. So I know I want this one. I just want to make sure that I'm looking at it at the right angle. Yep. Okay, again, I'm going to put my finger right about where I want it. And we're going to put a little dot of glue. Now before it rolls, we're going to take that piece, and while we're looking straight at it, we want to make sure we got it at an angle. When I say an angle, it's already round, but you want to angle your ears so they kind of do a little bit like this. And you do have to hold it. If it doesn't stay, you're going to just add more glue. It's a little loose. So I think what I'm going to do is now I'm going to come back here and I'm just going to add glue to the sides and to the back. Add a little bit of glue and a little bit of glue there. I'm going to turn it over. Again, it's going to be a little bit loose. And we're just going to wait just a second, just for it to harden up. That one I just need to hold on a little longer. The longer that it dries, the stiffer it's going to be. Okay. There we go. And if you feel like it's kind of leaning back a little bit, you can always add a little bit of glue to the front. And then just press it up against the other jute part of the rope. So that they are there. See what we have so far? Okay, so the next part is pretty simple. You can either take jute, twine, and I just take my 4 fingers and go around a couple times like that and trim it, right? And then we'll just take a piece. So we're just going to make the whiskers. I just take it off. I pinch it in the center, just like that. I come back and take that little piece we cut. Y'all, I'm so sorry it's taken this so long. We might have to speed this up. Okay, and we just tie a knot. It's like almost like tying a bow. And you can actually use it right here if you want. But, you know, if you want to make your little, you know, I would tie a knot. Just to make sure, let's tie a knot. Okay, and then you just go through the hoop like that, and then we just kind of spread it out a little bit, and I just kind of rub it in my fingers, and then you can make your little whiskers. Now you can, you know, use wire if you want, or I have that other yarn. I thought that was totally adorable. So you can make that however you wish. So we will add the nose here just a little bit, but just take a button, any type of button. You don't have to use the little pearl buttons I have. You can You don't even have to use the whiskers, but you can use a wood button. You know, these happen to be, you know, have little different designs on them. So it's whatever you want to do. Let's just take one out. Now the one that I used for the nose, it had the little holes, so it actually almost looks like the little holes of your little nose. I thought it was kind of cute. We just got different kinds. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm gonna have to sip. I actually got some water over here too, so. So how I do this is that I have a pipe cleaner. I'm just going to cut it in half. And you can make any type of bow. If you're familiar with making bows, that's great. But what I decided to do was just to make this type of a bow, if you want to call it a bow. You see how you just turn it? I just pinch it in the middle and I just twist it. And I take my pipe cleaner. I'm going to use this as a placeholder for me. Right? Just to hold it for a second. And then I had this ribbon that I had gotten from, oh, I don't remember. Anyway, it's a trimming, but it's super flexible. And so it holds its shape even though it's not wired. And it just has this neat little, I don't know, you can just see how it makes a little bow. And it's kind of thin. And let's see, might give it a tail. I'm just pinching it in the middle and just folding it under. Trying to get my loops the same. I'm going to pinch that in the middle too. So I have two loops that are the same. And see, it holds its shape. Just like a little netting. Anyway, I'm going to take my placeholder off. And then while I'm holding on to this and keeping it pinched, I'm going to put my bow, my little netted bow, I guess if you want to call it that. And then we're going to come back. I'm going to pinch tight. I'm going to pinch, I'm pinching it tight, then I'm twisting it and pulling and twisting. And you know, you can make your little bow tie as much as you want. Sorry again, y'all. I'm going to trim this off at an angle. I'm sorry, I'm starting to cough again. That darn COVID. Anyway. Okay. So then I'm going right up underneath there with that pipe cleaner. Right up underneath the neck. I'm pushing it up as far as I can get it. Just like this. And I'm holding it with my finger here in the center. And I'm just going to go and twist it. So you see how it looks? It hides that white right there. And then we've got a cute little bow tie. And of course you can twist it a little bit more. Or you can make it longer, however. And if you don't like the way that this looks, you can trim that off. Which I may do. We'll see. We'll leave it for now. Then the only part that I had done here on there was I took my little smaller ribbon, and you can use, you know, whichever you want to use, whether you're using a trim or ribbon, and just make a cute little bow. So I'm going to fold that and just trim this off. I did a dovetail on mine. So I'm just going to see approximately how big I want that. And I want a little bit of a tail. So I'm going to go a little longer. You can always trim it. Okay, so I'm just going to pinch it just like this. I'm going to come back here, split it, just twist. And I'm doing, when I say twist, I'm holding it with those two fingers. And then I'm twisting. And I'm going to come back, make another loop that it matches. Do the bunny ears, ha ha ha. Right? And then I'm going to cut a tail. And again, with this thing, you can do the same thing. Just want to make sure that my loops aren't too big. I think it needs to be a little bit smaller. Let's see. I don't know. Yeah. And again, you can use the twine to make your bow, or you can use the pipe cleaner, whichever you prefer. I'm just pinching it and twisting it. And I'm going to dovetail it. Okay, and since I don't need all that much of the pipe cleaner, I am going to trim it as close as I can. Okay. And then all we have to do is adjust it. Oops, just drop that. Okay. And we can trim this off as we go. So then we'll glue it to the, you can glue it wherever you want. I'm just going to happen to glue it right here. As far as like if you want it at the center of the head, or if you want it to the side where the ear is. We can trim those tails off just a little bit, but let's let that set. And then you can just choose to embellish it. Like if you want a little rose, this is a little rose button. I might put a little rose button on it. We'll just glue that on too. Just like that. See how that's looking? And then you'll just get your little wispies. Let's let that set up really good before we trim those. And again, you can use, you know, yarn to make the little ear, make the little nose, or you can use twine. I think I'm going to try, just to be different, I'm going to try this. Let's give it a try. I think it's cute. I like that one. I'll trim that in a minute. So cute. I like this one too. Little fuzzies. And then you could always add like a little button like this to the nose versus a little white button like that. So let's do that. Let's add this. I just wanted to do the nose a little bit different. Yep. Yeah, that's cute. I think that's adorable. Okay. So the last thing we have to do is add the little bunny tail on the back. So I just took some regular yarn. I think this is called oatmeal. And if you have a pom-pom maker, which you can, I'll put in the description where you can get these. But this is a pom-pom maker. They'll come in all different sizes. And I use this one to make this one. Or you can do the wrap your hand, which is 4 fingers. You need to wrap it a good many times. Then you'll slide it off, tie it in the center, and then just trim it just like you did. Well, you don't want to, well, you do. But just like you did the whiskers, except for it's going to be a lot more. And then you can form your little bunny tail. I like mine to look a little bit, I don't know, I call it ragamuffin, just because I think it's cuter. But if you want a tighter one, you can use a actually pre-made pom-pom that you bought. The Dollar Tree has them. I actually bought a pack of them, but I didn't use it in this project. So we're just going to add our little tail. And I'm just going to add a little dab of glue and just stick it on there. We're going to let that dry for a second while we put away these things really quick. And I'll show you how I put it together. And we're going to trim off, well, we'll see if we want to trim that off. Let me just look at it ahead. Yeah, I still think it needs trimming. I think the little tails here are a little bit long, so let's shorten them up. A little bit long on there. There. You know, just do it like the way that you want to do it. There. Isn't that cute? That's just so adorable. And that's the back. Okay. So I'm going to turn this off. And thank y'all for staying with me. I'm sorry it took so long. But again, you can always speed it up to finish to the end. I'm going to tilt you up. And again, if you haven't already subscribed, go ahead and do that now and tap that red bell so that you can be sure to be notified when I go upload more content. I'm close to my 1,000 follower, and when that happens, I can go live on my page. So please do that. And if you know of someone else that might enjoy this project or my other projects as well, please share with them. There we go. I'm just trying to trim that off just a tad. There we go. And push it up so that it doesn't poke anybody. There. Okay, y'all. So we've got this. It's just adorable. I'm sorry. So you can put this in any type of thing that you want. You can put it in a pot, you know, flower pot like I did. You can put it in an arrangement, in a wreath, in a centerpiece, you know, on your table. So this is basically the bunny itself. And I just wanted to show you here. So I have not glued this in yet because I wanted to show you. So I just took some paper and then I took a styrofoam and put it down inside of my pot here, and I'm going to glue that in, and then I just placed it, and then I'll trim it out so that you can see how that comes out to be a topiary. So, and then the back, you can see the back. So isn't that cute? But if you don't want to use it in that manner, again, you can make it into a wreath. You know, place it into a wreath or a centerpiece, however you choose to use it. But y'all, isn't that just darling? And I love the little fuzzy. And then you can either make your own pom-pom or buy it pre-made for your tail. So, or if you choose just to go blank, you don't even have to put the whiskers on there if you don't want to. But I thought it was cute. I thought it was so darling. And again, oops, gotta puff it up. I just like the tails when they're real fluffy like that. But anyway, thank you so much for joining me today with coffee, and crafting. I hope to see you again next week. I'm going to try to make our coffee and crafting a permanent day, so if you have any suggestions what day's best for you, let me know. But today is Thursday, so we'll upload this later today for Friday morning. And again, hope to see you again soon. Bye now.